Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Medlock Post radio program. And this is July 13th, 2022. I'm your host, Richard G. Medlock. We coming on here today to continue what we normally do, and that's to educate, entertain, enlighten, and empower. Today's episode is Hodge, Podge. We're going to try something new. We're changing, evolving. First of the week, we decided to go to a one-subject format, and we feel strong about that. Our numbers have started moving upward because of that change. But this morning, with so much news, the economy, Biden's over in Saudi Arabia for who knows what reason, Chinese is making threats, and a lot of things are going on. So we felt like, let's come on today and just do a hodgepodge of what's going on right now and catch everybody up. So we'll try this out. This might not, who knows how often this will happen. Depends on, I guess, what goes on out there. We did this a special one with the SCOTUS ruling on the EPA. We came on a couple of hours after that and talked about it and gave the breakdown and why it was so good. And but the Biden administration has just basically ignored it. They're continuing to throw regulations out there that they have no authority to do. Disclaimer: the views and opinions on the Medlock Post radio show are the views and opinions of the host. They are not necessarily the views and opinions of Spreaker.com, its corporations, affiliates, or any other podcast streaming services. And there are several of those. Excuse me. Milton Friedman, the great economist, I read him, I think it was yesterday. So we closed at the end with him, and then let's open with him. Quote, "The government solution to a problem is usually as bad as the problem," unquote. That is a true statement, ladies and gentlemen. Do you know what the Biden administration is proposing this morning? Have you heard? Higher gas taxes. Higher gas taxes. We don't need more taxes, folks. They say, well, we don't need no stinking taxes. What was the show? We don't need no stinking sheriff. We don't need no stinking taxes. So it's got us in trouble in the first place. Or England. And James Madison said, quote, "The people are the only legitimate fountain of power," unquote. That's right, we the people. You and I. Ordinary citizens out here just trying to survive government stupidity. And yes, I said it. Government stupidity. Although they know what they're doing, they want to destroy America. They want to destroy patriotic Americans, hardworking Americans. They want us groveling at their feet for them to take care of us. They already have all the people on welfare, which we talked about yesterday, groveling at their feet. I should have read this one quote. Let me see if I can find it. All right, economic report, folks, was awful this morning. Awful. Why? June inflation went up 9.1%. It has not been that high since November of 1981. But they said, oh, don't worry, the year before, 1980, it was 14.8%. I remember those days. I remember 18% inflation. I remember 20% mortgage rates. Everything shut down. So the economic report was not good. I'm going to go over some other things this morning to help you understand this. See, this is what hodgepodge. We're going to hit some items that are just key things that we need to understand. All right, here's a quote from Ezra Taft Benson. This was 1977. He was the Secretary of Agriculture under Dwight D. Eisenhower from 52 to 60. And he says, quote, another notable counterfeit system to the Lord's plan is collectivized socialism. Both communism and socialism have the same effect upon the individual, a loss of personal liberty. Compulsory benevolence is not charity. Today's socialists, who call themselves egalitarians, are using the federal government to redistribute wealth in our society, not as a matter of voluntary charity, but as a so-called matter of right. All right, get that in, because that's important to understand these things. Socialism, communism. This is the basis that the Biden administration is operating from. And we've covered some of those things. The goals of Marxism. Plato, Marxism. Yesterday, the Cloward-Piven strategy, which is in full force as we speak. All right, back to the economy. Consumer spending was down for all consumer goods except food and energy, or food and gas. Two things that you have to have. You got to have gas. You got to get to work, get home, go to school, pick your kids up, go to the store. You got to have gas. But all other spending for any other consumer goods, clothes, cars, and other things, is down. Well, that's telling us right there that we're in an inflation or in a recession. Rent increases are driving inflation, along with food and gas and other things. But rent increases, not only are they going up and driving inflation, but what is happening, you have the United States economy going into a recession, or in a recession, and a report out the other day that home buyers that were under contract are backing out of those contracts at record numbers. They're saying, nope, not doing this. I can't do this at 5.8% interest. I can't add $300-400 a month to that mortgage payment and keep my car and other things. So now what is happening is those people that are backing out of home deals now are going to rent apartments. So that's driving the demand for apartments up and driving rents up. Now, why do you think this is happening? You can say, yeah, bad policies. But which bad policy? It was the bad policy in 2020 when HUD came out and said, and CDC, which didn't have any authority, and HUD didn't have any authority, and other agencies came out with this, says, you don't have to pay your rent. You don't have to pay your mortgage. But let's focus on rent. You don't have to pay your rent. Hey, everything's shut down. You're not working. You don't have to pay your rent. But we're going to put $45 billion out there that you can apply for assistance and pay, and your landlord will get paid. Well, only about 4% of that was used. People would not apply. They didn't want to go through the hassle. They didn't care if the landlord got their rent or not. They didn't have to pay. Now, under the bad ruling was, well, but you will still owe it when you start going back to work and start earning money. You still have to pay the back rent. And landlords, you cannot evict. Banks, you cannot foreclose. Did you know foreclosures are up this year 118% since Biden took office? Foreclosures up 118%. Wow. So here we have home buying, and I think another number this morning was new construction for homes was down 14 point something percent. Big drop. Home sales are dropping. Mortgage applications are dropping. Banks are either shutting down or cutting their mortgage departments in half. J.P. Morgan did it a couple of weeks ago. They cut their division in half. First bank out of Charlotte shut it down. And other banks are doing the same thing. They're making these adjustments because the demand is not there. And since we're a consumer-driven economy, if the demand is not there, things are going to happen. Now, also I want to throw in, we talked about Agenda 21 the other day. This is part of their plan. We don't want people owning property. We want them renting. We all want them in one place, less land use. We don't want people owning homes. And in the last couple of years, who were the home buyers? A lot of foreign buyers, cash buyers, and they were driving prices up to keep your average home buyer out of the system. They couldn't afford it anymore. So that's a lot of things in play here. Inflation in June, 9.1%. And it will go higher. Now, one thing, if you just took out, this is the consumer price index. Producer price index will come out tomorrow. It's probably going to be higher because they do not pass along all their cost. Restaurants are getting hit right now. I talked to my couple of friends that own restaurants. I was at one yesterday having lunch, and he just said, our business is slowing down. And he says, our competitors across the street, their business is slowing down. This is one place where in inflationary times, in recession, that people cut back on, and that's eating out. Especially at your upper end restaurants. They're going to go back to pizza and Chick-fil-A and McDonald's and places like that where it doesn't cost as much. So this is why we're in a recession. The other day I talked about deflation versus inflation. Deflation is when prices are going down. We're starting to see that a little bit because people are trying to get rid of their inventory. They're over inventory. They have a glut of inventory and they have to move it. My wife and daughter went to the mall Saturday. They came back with stuff. I mean, good stuff. And my daughter needed some clothes. She has lost a lot of weight and needed some new clothes. And they came back. You wouldn't believe the deals. 75% off. One thing they bought was 90% off. It was $10. Normally it's like $75, $85, $90. It was $10. This is what's happening in the economy out there right now. Now, this morning, the 2-year government bond yield was 3.2%. The 10-year government bond yield was 3%. This is what's called a yield curve inversion. The short-term yield is higher than the long-term yield. That's when you hit that point, it's a recession. It's a recession. Now, a lot of people are trying to deny we're in a recession. The White House spokesman said the other day we're in the strongest economy we've ever had in history. Who knows? Who knows, right? Another thing that's happening, banks have reported that savings are starting to shrink, which means that people are taking money out of savings to pay for everyday things. Now, I know there's cartoons and pundits out there making jokes about all this stuff, but this is serious stuff. And it's chaos, created chaos. And what can I say more? We're not in a good time right now. So hang in there, ladies and gentlemen. It will get better. Talking about the economy, we need to talk about the Federal Reserve. They have no clue to what they're doing. Here again, they know what they're doing. They're doing the opposite of what they should do. Doing the opposite. So in July, they're going to raise rates another 7,500 basis points. For those that don't follow that, that's 3/4 of a point. So if it's 1% today, it's going to go up to 1.75%. Now they're talking, they might even go up 100 basis points or 1%. So that 1% interest will go up to 2%. And then do it again in September. They normally adjust them every 2 months. This is inflationary. Plus, they're still printing money like crazy. Yesterday, it was reported that the euro and the dollar were almost equal. And it's been a long, long time since it's been that way. So that doesn't give the United States or Europe an advantage over either one in purchasing goods and services. Now, the dollar is getting stronger because of inflation at home. It might be stronger against other economies, but it buys less here at home. It's kind of an oxymoron there, isn't it? But they continue to print money. The government, the Biden administration, continues to spend without authority, without approval, without legislation. Did you know that Biden administration is breaking the law today? Yeah, in so many ways. But why do I say that in this context? The government has no budget. Biden has never presented a budget. A budget has never been approved in Congress. This is against the Constitution. But who cares? The Democratic Socialists don't care. Apparently, the GOP Socialists don't care because they're benefiting from it. But there's no budget. They're just spending. Now they want to propose more taxes, another gas tax. Oh, but we're going to fix all these roads. I've heard that my whole life. More gas tax, and we're going to fix all the roads. Well, folks, what roads are they fixing? Remember that big bill that Obama passed when he first got in office and supposed to go out and do all these projects and do bridges and roads and all this? None of that happened. None of it. It went to labor unions. It helped Obama to get control of General Motors and tell the shareholders and bondholders to just go take a hike. That was, talking about a violation of the law. And then they signed all these contracts with China. So the Biden administration, I mentioned earlier that they're just ignoring these SCOTUS rulings. They're still pumping out regulations that the agencies have no authority to do. Businesses are starting to fight back. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce came out the other day with a strong statement against all of this. The NFIB, National Foundation of Independent Businesses, has come out with a strong statement. They're going to fight this. You don't have a right to put this regulation on us. They're fighting it, folks. And this is what James Madison meant. The people are the only legitimate fountain of power, not the government. Department of Justice. They're probably as big a criminal as anybody else. They protect their own. The FBI has yet to investigate Hunter Biden. They haven't even opened an investigation. Oh, they said they have, but big deal. They're not going to investigate him. Not at this time. But anyway, this morning or last night, the Justice Department, and I'm trying to figure out what authority gives them to do this, they have formed a reproductive rights task force because of the Roe versus Wade fallout. Now, this is kind of interesting. A reproductive rights task force. According to their news release, the task force will be made up of representatives from various DOJ departments, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Civil Rights Division, and the Office of the Solicitor General. The task force will be led by Associate Attorney General Vanita Gupta. She says the Justice Department is committed to protecting access to reproductive services. Do you guys see the irony in that? They're not protecting reproductive services or rights. They're protecting abortion. When they say reproductive rights, they mean abortion. They can always come up with these new names, but it means the same thing. Just like how many names there are for communism and socialism. There's bunches of them, but it's the same thing. Committed to protecting access to reproductive services. Two things here. One of them was yesterday. Was it the Department of Justice? Yeah, came out and said, doctors, you will perform an abortion on a medical situation where the mother's life is in danger, no matter what the laws are in your state. Well, that's tyranny, folks. And anarchy. It's both of them. Here's a legal system that has gone to the dark side. Let's put it that way. You have to do that. Well, doctors have come out over the last few years, OB-GYNs and other surgeons and so forth, that have come out and says, we have never, ever seen a case where the mother's life was, her health, or was a situation where we had to do an abortion. You understand that? That's from the doctors. They've never seen that case. There are also other situations where the mother she's expecting, and she's in an automobile accident. She's not going to make it. You know what they do? Under what they told the doctors yesterday and the hospitals, no matter what, you got to abort the baby. So, but what they do, if they will take the baby out under cesarean, and in most cases, of course, if they're far enough along, they survive. Instead of aborting them, they try to. This government wants people for some reason. See why I disclaimer, folks? These are my views. Then they're putting out this information, false information. The propaganda media has come out, and they're telling women that if you have a miscarriage or you have an ectopic pregnancy, that you cannot get medical help under the SCOTUS ruling. Total lie, ladies and gentlemen. Total lie. Women are not going to be turned away at the hospital for any reason because of the SCOTUS ruling. You understand that? Or from a doctor's office. But they want you to believe that. They think that, oh, you're going to die now. And we've had friends that have had miscarriages. They're terrible things. My sister-in-law had a miscarriage. They were distraught for a long time. But then they had a child after that. They already had one child. But this administration, this media, politicians do not think twice about telling a lie. It's just ingrained in who they are. They don't care anymore. They want power over the people, and we're not going to give it to them. Nope, they're not getting the power. So let's move on here. Hodgepodge Day. This is kind of fun. China makes demands. Blinken was over. I can't remember. I'm not sure where they met, but met with China diplomats and our diplomats. And China made demands. They said, if you want to be our friend, you've got to do these 4 things, or we're not going to be your friend. Well, they're not our friend because they own Joe Biden, and Joe Biden has given them everything they want so far, even selling them our Strategic Petroleum Reserve oil, which is against the law. All right. demands. They include the updated list of U.S. wrongdoings that must stop and the updated list of key individual cases that the U.S. must resolve, which were first presented to the United States side at last year's meeting at Taizheng. Now, it doesn't list what they are. The other two lists are the list of acts in the 117th Congress of High Concern to China and the list of cooperation proposals in 8 areas, including climate change, public health, and people-to-people exchange. Once again, China has serious positions that the U.S. must stop exercising containment and suppression, stop interfering in China's internal affairs, and stop undermining China's sovereignty, security, and development interest. All right. Did you know we were doing that? Did you? I don't know. I didn't. The list also reflects China's constructive attitude about conducting practical cooperation with the U.S. on the basis of mutual respect, equality, and mutual benefits. Folks, will the Biden administration capitulate? What say you? I think they will. I do. I think they will just, hey, what? No problem. We'll take care of it. Blinken sat there just nodding his head, went out to a press conference, and, oh, we had a good meeting. We're moving on. Da 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 da, yada yada yada. Oh, at times you just wonder. We know who's in control, and it's not Joe Biden. Enough about China. My last subject here, I know you're probably applauding, right? Yay, yay, it's about through. There was an article came out yesterday in the Deseret News. That's Salt Lake City, Utah. It's a good paper, folks. It's interesting. But they come up with some good stuff and some interesting stuff. You read it, you don't like it, but it was an interesting point. But you understand the other perspective. And that's key in what we do. Where is the other side coming from? Once you understand that, you know how to beat them. All right. Trump versus Biden. Who's going to be president in 2024? Remember, I talked about this in episode 15. This is episode 21. Episode 15. Go back and listen to it. Well, I'm going to play part of it here in a minute. First time I've done that. First time I've gone back and played a soundbite. We'll see how this works. Most American voters do not want either in 2024, new poll shows. A New York Times Siena College poll. Half of the Republican voters want someone other than Donald Trump in 2024, and 64% of Democrat voters would prefer a different Democrat candidate than Joe Biden. Now, I've seen that number of 71% of Democrats. And that's true. He's through. If he survives the rest of his term, I'll be surprised. I've talked about that in episode 14 and 15. I'll be surprised what could happen there. But surprises are part of the political system, folks. So there's a lot of going, but let me play this soundbite and put this in context. Never underestimate what the Democrat socialists are going to do. Okay, Donald J. Trump. He was a great president. Fought battle after battle after battle, but look what he achieved. Look what he was able to get done for the American people, for the United States of America as a country. Those battles continue. I talked about this in episode 14. There is baggage there. So hold on. Don't start throwing rotten tomatoes at me yet, you Trump supporters. Hear me out and think about it. Because your votes are still mightily important under the proposal I'm going to make here. Donald Trump is out there running around fundraising, supporting great candidates, getting them through the primaries, and possibly getting them elected in November. That is his strength right now. That is his strength. And I need to make a note. I couldn't remember it this morning. Let me write this down before I forget. All right, I wrote it down. Let me continue. So take the strength of Donald Trump and put it to good use. Let him continue to rally and seek out good candidates for 2024. Let him be out there just talking about America, talking about that America First agenda. Be the American cheerleader in bringing the Constitution back to full force, but not running for president. The baggage could be so big that it might cause that the GOP would lose the election in 2024. Can you see that picture? His baggage, especially if he announces he's going to run for president, they are going to take criminal charges against him. You can take that to the bank, folks, and that will stop him right there. But use his strength to just continue to rally the troops, even if it goes as far as starting the MAGA party or the Great American Party or whatever they want to call it. Because that is a movement, folks. It's a little bit different than in 2010. You know, we've been taxed enough. Okay, taxed enough already, the Tea Party. That kind of faded away. This isn't fading away. Americans are sick and tired of what Washington, D.C. is doing to us. Let Donald Trump lead that fight at the top, but not as president. Because they're going to keep going after him and stonewall it. And like I said yesterday, they're going to bog down Congress. These GOP socialists will make sure it bogs down. And that's not what we need. We need things to move forward according to the Constitution, get some of these bad bills done away with, get the agencies, government agencies, under control, and even shut some of them down, which Trump tried to do, and he did. He got them reduced to nothing. But then Biden came in and built them back up again, and they're raising havoc out there. So this is my proposal. Let him keep doing what he's doing. And I think what happens by doing that The Democratic Socialists and the GOP Socialists are going to get tired of making fools out of themselves, going after him and his family and his businesses and his staff when he was in the White House, and say, okay, enough's enough. We got these other battles to fight, and not go after him. It takes a lot of things away from them in the election of 2024. It takes a lot of their ammunition away. It really does. Okay, folks, that was me in episode 15. I hope that came out well on my test recording before the show. It kind of had a little echo to it, so I'm not sure how that is going to come out on this system. So let him be the cheerleader. Let him pull the rug out from under the GOP Socialists and the Democratic Socialists and the media by not running for president. Put someone in there that's going to be strong, like I mentioned there in 14. Mike Pompeo, Ron DeSantis would be great candidates. There's some good vice presidential candidates, Nikki Haley and some others. Donald Trump Jr. would be a good VP candidate. But I think it's time for a course change here. And I think the public, the voters, are telling us it's time, not only with Joe Biden, he's done, but with Donald Trump. And he's still letting his ego get in the way. And one thing, this battle that has cropped up between he and Elon Musk is very interesting. But see, he gets into these battles that he shouldn't. And this is what a lot of people don't like about him. But in Trump's defense with Musk, this thing, with Musk, he's going to pull out of the Twitter deal, and now Twitter's suing him and all this stuff. Listen, I knew that deal wasn't going down. I knew that would not happen. Now, Twitter is stupid to file a lawsuit because you know what? Now they got to open all their books and they got to prove all of these accounts are real people and not just millions of bot accounts. That was stupid. But I think they're trying to get Musk to pay them a bunch of money, a few $1 billion to settle this thing, and then they go on. I saw a thing yesterday that only 7% of account users at Twitter are actually using their account, putting tweets on Twitter. 7%. The only thing I put on there is this show. It's interesting. I mean, I think 7%. So that might be in the United States. I don't know. Who knows? But if this thing goes down, I hesitated dropping my account, and this might be, I might just say, hey, I don't need Twitter anymore. Goodbye. I'm on Getter, Gettr, and some people are going to the social site that Trump started. I haven't done that yet. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen. I guess if I would hit some right buttons here, let's close out today with a quote from Samuel Adams. Yes, another founding father. This is a letter to James Warren in 1775, a year before the Declaration of Independence. It says, quote, "No people will tamely surrender their liberties, nor can any be easily subdued when knowledge is diffused and virtue is preserved. On the contrary, when people are universally ignorant and debauched in their manners, they will sink under their own weight without the aid of foreign invaders." Unquote. they so understood what would happen without a moral people following the rule of law. And that, folks, is the Medlock Post radio show for today. May God bless America. Have a great day.